Season's greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And BlueDragonFive.
And tonight, we're talking Mr. Banks. That's right, folks. That's right. So, folks, tonight we are talking about the very divisive Olaf's Christmas adventure. Now, Dragon, I have kind of took this as an opportunity to go back to a bit of a more old school style when it comes to the podcast, like something that Adventure Blue Dude and I liked to do back in the day, which is to take historical, basically take current events going on with Disney and add a historical twist to them, kind of like look back at similar things that have happened with this same kind of context through Disney history. So, folks, this review is basically going to be kind of like our quick thoughts on Olaf's Frozen adventure, and we're going in kind of like as non-partial to the whole, the controversy of if it should have, Dragon, I think you and I kind of, we both are on the fence, we're both on the side that this very much should have been a 22-minute short, right? Like on ABC.
Yeah, I mean, if I could take it, I would absolutely take it that way, sure, yeah.
All right, so neither of us are claiming that this should have been in front of Coco, but, I think both of us kind of definitely see the merits of it, even though I definitely... Dragon, I think I have more cons than you do about this, but I'm sure you have a couple things negative to say about it as well. But generally, folks, we went into Coco and Olaf's Frozen Adventures basically like, okay, we're getting kind of a two for the price of one, you know what I mean? We're getting, like, the Frozen thing, and then we're getting the main event, and moi. Like we talked about Coco for basically twice of Coco's runtime, Dragon. So
yeah, but yeah, remember, Tiki, Coco isn't as short as you made it out to be, and that's something probably to bring up here because the way you sold, you kind of told me Coco's gonna be a lot shorter than it actually was.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't know, but I think the fact that Coco did end up being a little bit longer kind of added to the controversy of this just being slapped right in front of it. So, folks, let's get into it, though. Like I said, we're going to kind of build to the controversial elements of
basically, we're going to do it like a holiday Oreo in a way here. We got kind of Olaf's Frozen, Adventures. Kind of that's kind of the good. It's a high quality chocolate. Of course, we know our Frozen characters. They love their chocolate. So we have some solid holiday lukewarm chocolate in the middle. We got creamy controversy. That's kind of what we're working with here. Again, there's definitely some stuff there. There's definitely some stuff to chew on in the middle there. But again, we got some old familiar territory, kind of holding it all together. So yeah.
All right.
That's where we're going.
So Dragon, let's go into it with the anticipation for this. Of course, you and I were both actually pretty excited when this was announced as a Christmas special, like on ABC, because I think ABC recently has had a really good run of holiday specials specifically regarding their Toy Story brand with, of course, the Toy Story of Terror, the Toy Story That Time Forgot, these 25 to 22 minute short films, running on ABC with commercials stretching out to half an hour, I really think it was a winning formula. So with that in mind, like I didn't like the idea of it being in front of Coco. I was right there from the very beginning, not liking that idea, but with that in mind, I was kind of looking forward to this because the same songwriters were on board for it. Of course, it was interesting, Dragon, because this was kind of like a musical, like an opening act, right? Like, and Dragon, actually, I want to bring up a Facebook post that Monkey made that kind of sums up this whole thing. Basically, Monkey said, I think to soften the deal between Coco and Frozen, there needs to be a 20-minute Coco, a 20-minute one-act Coco musical that plays before every performance of the Frozen musical on Broadway.
Or I guess the simpler example would be, hey, when Frozen 2 rolls around, 20-minute Coco short.
I guess so, yeah, that could be it. That could be it.
That, to me, would be justice. That'd be laughable. That'd be laughable, awesome justice, in my opinion. But yeah, you and I were talking about, Coco shorts. Coco shorts.
All right, all right. So Dragon, I actually, I was trying not to go into it with a cynical eye. All right, I really wasn't.
I know how hard that was for you.
I know, and look, it's like I feel like certain other people on the channel, Dragon, basically everyone besides the two of us, have kind of like basically abandoned ship on Frozen altogether. Whereas Dragon, I feel like you're definitely the most staunch defender on Frozen.
Yes.
And I still like Frozen quite a bit. Like I will say that the original film, I mean, say what you will about the overhype and the oh my god, if I hear Let It Go one more time, like basically I think at this point the original hype has died down, and I think we can kind of look at it in context and say it is a pretty damn good movie, all things considered, and it kind of really, really pushed forward this new Disney, like what do we call it, Dragon? The second renaissance or whatever that
Yeah,
we're in
that's
right
second
now.
Renaissance. That's kind of where we landed on. I forget if that's changed or not, but second Renaissance.
Sure. So Frozen just definitely has an important place in Disney history, like just in the grand scale of the entire company. Like, of course, this is a story that Walt wanted to, Walt and Mark Davis himself were working on. Mark Davis actually was trying to turn this into a ride at a certain point in Disney history, like way back in the 60s. And before any of like the singing snowman or any of the sisterly themes or anything, of course. Basically just the idea of the Snow Queen. So, the Frozen, what I'm trying to say is that Frozen, it might be a little overhyped, but I think it still very much deserves its place. You know what I mean? And I think even the most staunch people who are against it and against the overhype, like people like Manning and Reith, like Dragon Manning and Reith went to the Frozen ride at Epcot, and he said it was the best ride at all of Disney World, in his opinion. So there you go. Like someone who's generally not too fond of Frozen because of the overhype, even he can get sucked into something that Frozen does. So, I just think they hit it right on the money with the characters, the subversion of the classic tropes, the themes. It was definitely lightning in a bottle, but I think we can do a lot more with it. And Dragon, I think really my thoughts on the movie, my thoughts on the short, I really just think honestly, it was hard to enjoy this movie on its own merit, Dragon, because in theater, so many people, both times I saw Coco, were getting actively pissed. Even little kids, Dragon, I'm not kidding you, little kids were getting angry about Frozen. They're like, when's the movie gonna start? Like, this is ridiculous, like it's literally just like a marathon. And Dragon, that's why we're going to go into the nature of Disney shorts in general. That's why we're going to examine kind of the history of this, kind of like, because this is Dragon, let's just say this is far from the first time that Disney's put out a short in front of a theatrical film that's like 20 minutes or longer, but this is the first time that Disney's done it since 1990. So I think there's a lot of historical stuff to look at from that point of view that we're going to kind of dive into. But Dragon, I gotta say, this short is definitely not perfect in the slightest. It's really not. Like, I think it's got some pacing issues to it. That those pacing issues definitely don't help the people sitting in the theater who just want to get to Coco. But having said that, I do think Olaf himself is, and I think even the people who, were really didn't want to go into this, like people like Monkey and even Mandy and Reith, like, I think they can even admit that Olaf himself was really well characterized in this, and it was really, all the humor was very on point at the very least. Which, of course, Olaf being a comic relief character, this being a short, which, shorts are a very appropriate venue to showcase comic relief characters. I think that element of it works really well. I think there's a lot of funny moments. There's a lot of warm-hearted humor in it. And I think, Dragon, even there's a really, really good Christmas message that we're going to get into with this. And Dragon, I think we're going to take a year and, wait for this to become available on streaming and home video and whatnot. And next year for the 2018 seasonal shenanigans, we are definitely going to cover this. I think it's fair to say, because I think it stands on its own. I think it's I think it pretty much holds up. It's a decent Christmas special to examine in its own right. I just think it's a little unfortunate to both Coco and this that it got kind of slapped together with Coco. So,
Right. Well, there's some stuff I'm going to reveal to you here. There's a very slim chance we might actually, again, it's fluid, folks, so let's not nail anything down. There's a chance we might actually be able to do that a little early, but again, we'll get it. Again, it's a very slim chance, I would say. I think what you said is pretty correct, but, so.
you know what? Honestly, even if we had access to it, Dragon, I'd rather just wait another year.
Huh.
Just because of the, the controversy and whatnot.
Anyway. So, I guess my thoughts then.
Yeah, I don't mean to clip your wings. I'm just saying, like, I thought we already had the lineup.
Well, no, we did, but that's not important anyway.
Anyways.
So, my anticipation going into it. So, I remember when this was announced. It was announced during the Making of Frozen special that was aired on ABC in 2016. They kind of announced, it was like they're building towards something. Yeah, they keep doing like, hey, commercial break, and they give away half of it in the commercial break, but then, of course, eventually it reveals itself. So, basically, they announced that, hey, we're doing a Frozen holiday special, and it's going to be great. We're doing a Frozen holiday special. And in June this year, they announced they were going to make a slight alteration, of course, at rippling effects, where they were not going to air it on TV, but air it on the big screen. And it was a little kind of strange, of course, leaving a lot of questions like, are you going to do that? Then is it going to air on TV or Netflix or whatever? And again, like all that stuff just kind of got complicated. And again, it's like a lot of lingering questions. So the point is going to be on the big screen and attached, as we found, as more time kind of passed. It's going to be attached to Coco. So, being a big Frozen fan and being a general fan of Christmas specials, as you kind of know, as Tiki and I are, I was looking forward to it. I got some ties to Frozen. I was like, all right, that's gonna be a nice special. Yeah, I think probably best suited for TV. But I mean, hey, I've never really seen a 20-minute short in theaters, so let's see how that plays. So I was going into it very open-minded. And of course, again, folks, again, Frozen Christmas. We pitched our Frozen. We've pitched Frozen 2 in the past, and of course, we've pitched a Frozen Christmas special as well. So we definitely looking forward to this at some point. So again, I'm looking very forward to it. My thoughts out of it. I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. There's some good humor, a lot of spectacle. It was a good time. It lived up to my anticipation. It was like, okay, that was a good time. And of course, let's touch a little on the controversy, as it were. So controversy is as it stands, folks. Basically, what on paper, what the official problem is. Like Disney, famously, we have a Disney short in front of a Pixar film, which is unheard of, which breaks Pixar's tradition, which I looked up just to make absolute certain. Here's how it goes. Pixar has had a short film in front of every Pixar film ever since the first one. Again, bear in mind, on home video release, then they kind of amended that. So, just the point is, like, every film has a short before it now. So that's the way it goes, and it has continued to be as such. And basically, some people rub the wrong way of one. You have like a Christmas short before Day of the Dead. You're kind of doing like a double holiday here, and in some bizarre ways, you kind of have a Nightmare Before Christmas echo. But no one.
Okay, Dragon, I'm going to blow your mind right here. I'm going to blow your mind. You know what would have been a perfect thing to slap in front of Coco if Disney wanted to get a lot of hype, a lot of money, and something that would have been thematically and tonally way more in line with Coco?
Yes, a Jack Skellington short.
A 20-minute Nightmare Before Christmas short, yes.
That would get a lot of intrigue, but it would probably overshadow the skeleton, so they probably would have wanted to avoid that.
I guess that's true, yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough skeleton act to follow.
I don't know. I'm just saying that just popped into mind. Like, oh my God, like if they did a 20-minute Nightmare Before Christmas sequel in front of Coco, I don't think anyone would be complaining.
So again, the roots of the controversy as it stands, you have a lot of fans eager to see Coco, but especially, I believe the numbers are still reflecting this in Mexico. I mean, Coco is the highest grossing film in Mexico, from what I heard.
Mm-hmm.
And the point is, a lot of people eager to see Coco, and for various reasons, especially down there. record-breakingly down there. Everyone is they're eager, they're hyped to all get out to see to see Coco, and they have to wait 20 more minutes to see it while they're in
Well,
the
I mean, keep
theater.
in mind, Dragon, this is after trailer, so it's more like, 30 to 35 more
Sure.
minutes.
Well, sure. I'm just saying 20 minutes on top of the already the already established wait time.
Right.
I mean, and yeah, there's that, and of course, again, it's kind of like, hey, we're summoning this very important holiday, and then you're you're throwing a more widely reported holiday on top of that.
Yeah.
And
I
just the
think
general thing in all audiences is that whenever, especially when you have kids in the theater, you always have this. But of course, and this is the thing I was kind of curious to see as well, going into like kind of a 20-minute short. I knew it was gonna. You're always bound to hear this. You have kids in the theater during an animated film, especially a Pixar film, where there are going to be a few stragglers who
I
kind
feel
of
like it's a tradition, Dragon. I feel like it's a tradition to overhear a little kid like, "Is this the movie, Daddy?" in a Pixar
exactly.
film,
Eventually, that's the thing. You have a few kids scratching their heads, and of course, being the experienced Pixar
Right.
fan,
It's
you
like
know, like, oh
it's
yeah,
like it's their first time.
exactly. And again, you got to imagine just taking that like little bit. Okay, well, if they're a little curious and they have like 5 minutes go by, then their minds are blown.
Dragon,
We've
I've
all
told
been.
this story before, but I'll never forget the dad. In Inside Out, when Lava finished, and he was like very serious, like very stone faced about it. When Lava cut the credits, he was like, "Well, the movie's over." It wasn't like anything like what they saw in the trailers, but I guess that's it. It was a pretty short movie. All right, let's go, girls.
Anyway, so you have something like that go on. You imagine you figure it as it goes on. It's like, oh yeah, we've all been there. We've all seen the short and like blown away. Now,
Dragon,
like,
I will say,
what the
like, I
heck
don't
is
know about
going
your
on?
theater, but like I said, like my two theater experiences, it was uncomfortable to sit through because, like, I saw several people just get up and complain. It was like, oh God, this is not a good situation.
Yep. Yeah. That's yeah. Anyway. Yes. So again, the Tiki, I built this up to you. You know what the aftermath was of this event, Mexico particularly.
Of course.
Tell the folks at home.
Well, the aftermath is that it got pulled from all the theaters in Mexico, which is pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I don't know if you know about this, Tiki, and this is the reason it makes me think we're going to get this short early. Again, slim chance, but basically, they are. Disney is overcompensating for this faux pas. So what they're doing is they're basically they swear up and down. They promise that, hey, for anyone who still wants to see the short, because we pulled it from theaters, it'll be on Netflix and air on TV
Oh, really?
December
Huh.
8th. So I don't know if it's everywhere, but I know in like
Oh,
down.
shoot. Well, damn it. That's now I feel stupid for bringing up the scheduling stuff. I'm sorry, Dragon. But
Anyway. So that's the thing. So it's now I know down there they're going to do this. I don't know if they're going to do it everywhere. So that's why I'm a little unsure. But I'm saying they've announced that they overcompensate basically for the whole. Yeah, we pulled from theaters, but we still want to have people see it.
wait, so is it official that they're pulling it from theaters here too?
No, here, no. That's what I'm saying. It's down there. That's official. Here, it's unclear.
Oh,
I mean, here
okay. I see what you're saying. All right.
I'm saying I'm pretty sure it's still going to be here regardless. I'm just saying I don't know if they're going to put it on TV and on Netflix here. That's what I don't know because they have different nationalities of the streaming service. You have the Netflix Canada, you got US, you got
Right.
That's what I'm unclear of. So anyway, all right. So that's controversy.
Okay. And yeah, Dragon, I'm just curious. Like, what about your theater experience, though?
Well, my theater experience is, again, my friends and I kind of warned them right before we went in the theater about the Frozen short when we were sitting down, so they were they were made aware of it. But everyone else, it was kind of again, it was just basically the extended, the kids kind of reacting to like, well, what's going on? What's going on? I mean, for the most part, they enjoyed the Frozen short, but again, a little puzzled and still asking questions, very notably. So that's kind of the experience. Again, I don't think anyone disliked it, but they were quite puzzled by it.
No, I mean, for me, like the little kids, maybe not so much the first time I saw it, like in the evening, but definitely the second time I saw it. And keep in mind, that was like the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. It was like a packed house. Like all the little kids were out from school, so they were all really rambunctious. And the second time I saw it, Dragon, I swear to God, it was like it turned into like a little kid riot. It was like, turn on the movie, turn on the movie.
So on the whole, just again transition this. So on the whole, it
Sure,
seems that
sure.
might have been an ill thought out plan.
Just a little bit, maybe just a little bit. Yeah, maybe just a tad bit.
And again, this is the thing that, again, the reason we're bringing up like oh, there's a controversy is again because this has become a notable thing. It's kind of egg on Disney's, it's the egg on Disney's face and by proxy Pixar's face a little, mostly Disney's face though.
And it's really unfortunate because I mean Coco is like such a masterpiece, Dragon, that honestly I'm definitely gonna see Coco a third time, but I've got to say, like, I'm gonna buy my ticket in advance and then just walk in a half hour late. I mean, that's my plan at this point. Like, it's not that I don't enjoy the Frozen short, but it's like, you know, I don't want to sit through it just to have to get to Coco. You know what I mean? I want to get right into Coco when I go into the theater. So
I do respect this. I respect that everyone is very respectfully keeping them separate. So that's how you should do that. You know, again, we're like no one's like begrudging Coco for this. But
I definitely agree with you there. Yeah, I was worried that that would happen as well. So I agree with you.
and again, folks, again, it's not that the Frozen shore is insulting or anything. It's just the fact again, it's like oil and water. It's just like something's not quite mixing here.
And Dragon, I gotta say, like, even before all the cultural controversy came up, I was definitely one of those people who was like, you broke the tradition, betrayal. You know what I mean? I was definitely in that camp.
Let's just say I have some theories about that. We'll get there when we get done some stuff down the line. I got some ideas about that. We'll get there.
All right. So I guess let's go back to the past. So Dragon, let's talk about kind of the nature and the history of these Disney shorts and their relationship with theatrical runs. Now,
Sure. So on its face, a short is just it's intended to one test animation, and then secondly, kind of get you in the mood. You know, get you kind of it's the opening act for a film. That's essentially what the short service is.
and of course, that's what the Disney studio was founded on, based on series like, you know, the Alice shorts and Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Oswald, interestingly enough, Dragon, of course, famously ran before Universal movies, which, you know, is very interesting given the context and the rivalry between Disney and Universal. But the first things we're going to look at, folks, are the Mickey Mouse shorts, which really honestly kind of changed the game, because the Mickey Mouse shorts were, I don't want to say, Dragon, they were the first shorts that were kind of like the star attractions, because before then you had like some Max Fleischer stuff like Betty Boop that were definitely star characters in their own right. But Mickey Mouse was definitely the first character to come along where it's like, you know, like he filled up the marquee. You know what I mean? You could have a whole marquee saying like, you know, like Mickey Mouse and Steamboat Willie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, essentially the Mickey shorts kind of put Disney on the map, you know, to a large degree.
Yeah, they went from kind of like a humble, struggling, you know, farmhouse studio to it's basically kind of like the example I use, Dragon, in a modern context. It's basically kind of like, you know, Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs working out of the garage, you know, and then it's like Walt and Roy and the early animators like Iwerks like working out of the barn and making the sound effects and syncing the sound for Steamboat Willie, and then that turns into Apple essentially. I'm sorry, I don't know if you're catching on to my analogy, but
No, I get it. It's just, you know, yeah, I get it.
All right. So yeah, Mickey is just an interesting device. Of course, we'll get back to Mickey soon because he is obviously kind of the touchstone of the whole company. And like I said, he was definitely used to, you know, elevate films in their own right. But these were still, we're talking still like, you know, 5 to 6 minute shorts, you know. But it was interesting to kind of have like, you know, whereas Pixar shorts have always been known as like, you know, a nice opening act, you know what I mean? A nice, an appetizer, if you will, a really, really fine, you know, finely prepared appetizer is what a good Pixar short can be. But Mickey Mouse shorts were definitely just like, okay, like this is the big event. Like you're gonna come to the movie house to see Mickey Mouse, and you'll stay for the movie because you paid for
Basically, it's the Disney signature. That's what it's like.
Right.
Okay, here's the literally signing my name with my little embodiment of my own character there. Zoop, Disney. So basically, I walked Disney with my funny looking W and D logos. Disney, but it's in the form of an animated mouse. Presents. And then, of course, by that time, you're done reading that, then, of course, movie starts.
So then let's move on to the package films, which, of course, were made in... I'm sorry. Oh, no, go. I'm sorry. The package films were, of course, made mostly to save money for the war. These were packaged together, from different shorts the studio was working on at the time. And really the one that we're going to look at, Dragon, there are two in context that kind of fit this description, but the more famous one out of the two, the other one being Fun and Fancy Free, which is a pairing of Mickey and the Beanstalk and Bongo. But the one that I think works a lot better, and I feel like does kind of hold its hat on, like, yes, two short films can kind of like hold up as an anthology and work as a feature, is The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad.
Yes. I think Ichabod and Mr. Toad brings up the interesting question of when basically you blend two shorts together that together are kind of they're recognized as a film, but separately, again, it's like honestly to me it feels like Mr. Toad is the short film to the Ichabod Crane film, even though they're both of a short length.
Yeah, that makes sense to a certain extent, but I feel like The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad kind of it is the best of the anthology movies because the tone and the theme is so consistent. It's got the literary tone running through it. It's got the library transitions. Whereas you look at something like Fun and Fancy Free by comparison, Dragon, and Fun and Fancy Free starts innocent enough with Jiminy Cricket, like, oh, okay, we're going to get a nice Jiminy Cricket wrap around. But then it goes batshit crazy, with the wraparound into Mickey and the Beanstalk with the creepy dummies and everything like that, So I don't know. I just feel like the narrators of the narrator of Basil Rathbone and Bing Crosby, they really kind of bring it. They're really paired together really well, and just overall the experience of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. I mean, I think Mr. Toad is just it's just the less theatrical of the two. You know what I mean? Because even the novel, The Wind of the Willows, like I've read that novel and. It's a very, it's a classic for a reason, but let's just say it's a very laid back novel. It's a very leisurely novel.
I was the Willow.
I'm just saying, like a lot of that novel is describing like just kind of like the laid back, leisurely nature of life in Toad Hall, and it's kind of contrasted against Toad's motor mania. So a lot of it is kind of like almost sort of like a Jekyll and Hyde type story when Toad gets into his motor mania. But having said that, I definitely think that the tone of The Wind in the Willows short did capture the book very well, whereas the tone of Sleepy Hollow also captured the book very well, because the book is also a very laid back story for the most part until we get into the last 10 minutes, which is of course very consistent with the I should say, the last section of the book is the intense part, much like the movie. So
right.
I don't know. Anything else to say about that?
Well, look, I guess what I'm coming down on with thinking about Mr. Toad, again, it feels just kind of related to our topic here. Again, it feels kind of like you have you have Coco and you have Olaf's Frozen Adventure, and again, they feel very different in how they're laid out there. I know they have the connecting literary theme, but at the same time, again, they feel like, Ichabod is kind of, it's something that turns into a horror story, essentially. It's kind of, there's more of a transition between, there's more of a transitioning So there's more of a connective tissue of a transition between Ichabod and Mr. Toad. Because again, there's a literary connector, but there's also this kind of like a tone thing. We're okay, having kind of a fun adventure, gets a little serious in there, and of course we're still kind of going on with that kind of that light adventure to the beginnings of Ichabod. Then of course it transfers into that again, into that darker tale. So again, I think it's kind of, in a way of looking at it, it's kind of like it was experiment. It was a little more experimental in kind of melding shorts together and kind of tonally melding shorts together versus kind of what we do now. So I guess it's kind of a takeaway for that possibly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So speaking of just, so again, like getting back to kind of the short formula we have here, let's talk about like a historic short that, of course, kind of opens a film as of a 20-minute runtime. Yeah, I think it might have played a little better than what we had here, bringing that old hat trick back.
Are you referring to Mickey's Christmas Carol?
I was referring to it, but if you want to start somewhere else, by all means.
Well, I think maybe we should get into Winnie the Pooh before Christmas Carol.
Really all right, go. Tell the folks.
So folks, Winnie the Pooh is another really interesting situation because basically with Winnie the Pooh, what we had a lot of kind of mediocre Disney movies like The Ugliest Dash Hound and Dragon. I sent you a list of these. It's like some ridiculous titles. You know what I mean? I think the most ridiculous is The Horse in the Gray Flannel Suit, which is where Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day premiered in. Interestingly, Dragon, I feel like Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day is like that's the one that won an Oscar. So you know what I mean? The Winnie the Pooh short that's in front of the most ridiculous and obscure Disney movie is the one that's the most well-renowned. So, folks, what I'm trying to say here is that, like, in between the late 60s to the late 70s, Disney had like this whole series of Winnie the Pooh shorts that they'd premiere with with these really these really questionable, and this was, keep in mind, of course, this was late 60s or that was like right when Walt died, so the company was in a very tumultuous time period. So, Dragon, this is kind of an interesting thing where, what do you think of this whole phenomenon where we're getting these, these very forgettable movies like The Island at the Top of the World and stuff like that. And, but really the Winnie the Pooh shorts are the things that many people remember far more and far more fondly than something like The Ugliest Dash Hound. What's your take on that?
Honestly, it's kind of a similar phenomena that we had this year with Cars 3 and Lou, almost, where of course Lou is the Lou is the film that it overshadowed Cars 3, and that's one you remember a little bit. It's kind of the more positive takeaway of Cars 3. I'm not trying to put down Cars 3. I'm just saying that was the remarkable thing about it. Is again a short overshadowing the film, which you haven't had really in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's kind of a similar thing.
I guess. I mean, but of course, the nature of what we're talking about here is the 25-minute runtime with Winnie the Pooh. And Winnie the Pooh's, they were always 25 minutes. I was very consistent with them. And Dragon, I gotta say, doing my research, I'm very nostalgic for Winnie the Pooh, and I want to go back and do like a Winnie the Pooh marathon now. But it's just really interesting to me that this character who's really become like one of the hallmarks of the whole company. I don't know if so much in the last 5 years or so, but I know like in the 2000s, Winnie the Pooh was huge. He was everywhere, and in merchandise. There's still huge lines to meet him in the Disney parks. He's just a huge iconic character, and so I think it's really interesting that late period, that dark age of Disney where Walt had just passed away. Really, the character that kind of saved the company was these shorts. And, the first short, which was Winnie the Pooh in the Honey Tree, is actually the last animated short that Walt worked on. So it's all kind of got a full circle quality there, Dragon. It's a very interesting kind of context to these shorts and, how they sort of lifted up these kind of flops of movies, to be frank.
Kind of the tide that raises all ships effect, I guess. That's kind of what you had with Winnie the Pooh.
Right. All right, Dragon, now let's talk about something that's probably the most direct comparison we can make between the Frozen adventure and, and Coco. which is Mickey's Christmas Carol being released in front of The Rescuers. Now, Dragon, The Rescuers, of course, is it's a pretty emotional movie. You know, I'm not going to say it has the emotional high points of Coco, but you know, it's got some sad moments in it. It's about
it's no Rescuers Down Under.
It's got some sad songs in there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's no Rescuers Down Under by any stretch.
No, it's really not. And honestly, Dragon, that's why I think Mickey's Christmas Carol kind of elevates that whole package.
Exactly, and that's an example of basically that's when the 20 minutes is sort of the welcome. But unfortunately, something you can't really account for. Basically, you know, you have with Coco coming out, and it is perhaps it's like in a similar thing where there was an expected low return. And that it's, you know, I'm not trying to say experimental film, but you know, it's a different film. So, film unlike, you know, what has usually been released, it's kind of again, it's in kind of the original Pixar vein. I'm saying by again, I'm not trying to like kind of elevate. I'm not trying to kind of cast shade on Disney here. I'm just saying I would imagine from a corporate level of thinking would be, hey, we're not exactly, you know, this one's kind of its own unknown factor. This one's going to do, and it's not exactly kind of a bankable franchise. So we're just going to have we'll have a known franchisable, you know, basically a huge entity as a short to kind of open before it. And this, in the case of Christmas Carol and Rescuers, you know, Rescuers, you have something again in line. But you know, it's kind of it's a similar vein. We're going to have what have we done in the past? It's kind of like a built-in return. Mickey Mouse, and also what's another built-in return? Hey, Christmas Carol. Who doesn't like Christmas Carol? And what have we not done? We really mixed them together. So okay, let's do that. And worst case scenario, we'll just take that short and we're just gonna put it on TV and we'll just wear it till the end of time, and everyone's
which they definitely did.
Exactly, and there you go. So basically, there was something that I'm not sure if it was seen at the time. It might have been more popular than The Rescuers. I'm not quite sure. I mean, The Rescuers again had enough of a following to get a sequel, so I don't know.
Yeah, Dragon, The Rescuers is a weird movie where it's like I feel like it got enough of a reception at the time to get a sequel. And let's briefly talk about the situation with The Rescuers Down Under, because that was the last short to be premiered in front of a Disney film, and this was the longest one too, Dragon. This is a really interesting takeaway here. The Prince and the Pauper, which is of course a Mickey Mouse and a twin brother Mickey Mouse switching places, that whole deal. This is a 31-minute short, Dragon. That's insane. Could you imagine this Frozen short going on for another 10 minutes?
Nah, not really. Well, I mean, I could see where time could be. Honestly, I could see things that could be added, but then again, I would switch things out. That's what I would do. I wouldn't just add on time. I change it.
Right.
But yeah.
So I don't know, and Dragon, that makes me wonder if this was kind of a situation where audiences were kind of hesitant to go into The Prince and the Pauper because or to go into The Rescuers Down Under because the short in front of it was so long. And I don't know, like maybe I should have done a little bit more research on it instead of spending, I kind of like wore my research thin between all of these shorts that were released. And, I should have maybe focused on the reception of some of these a little bit more than I did. But, I'm curious if that played a role, folks. And basically what I'm trying to get at here is that this is, this Frozen situation, it's the first time it's happened in decades. It's the first time it's happened in 27 years. So that's a pretty historic chunk of change, chunk of time to go, And Dragon, I just think it's interesting that I think in the 70s and 80s, folks were a little bit more used to the idea of sitting through a 25-minute short, specifically because the generation before us, Dragon, grew up on the Winnie the Pooh shorts, and the idea of going to a Disney movie and seeing a 25-minute Winnie the Pooh short and then seeing the actual movie. And so what do you think here, Dragon? I feel like we're hitting on an interesting kind of an interesting note here, an interesting nugget.
I think it's the age-old question that animation was founded on, Tiki, and that will people be able to sit through this? And that was it was kind of by standards today, we're thinking, of course they can sit through. It's great stuff. But back then, it was an unknown entity where you have it with Snow White, and you have the same issue with the same question being raised with the original Toy Story. You know, you have both that, like, okay, here's something kind of new, and it's kind of like people could look at it like an eye chart. They could look at it like, you know, like it's the next Citizen Kane. It's unknown how this is going to go. So I think there's a bit of that infused here with the shorts, where, you know, we look at you know, with Frozen, we're kind of posing that question. Yeah, and will people be able to sit through an extended short before they get to the kind of the meat and potatoes? And I do wonder if, again, I think had your what you told me about Coco been true, had it been a shorter film, I would have. I don't know. I might think that it might have been more warmly received. I don't know. I can't say that for certain, because, again, I imagine it'd be, honestly, I think it would be the same effect. I think it'd be the same effect if people just want to see Coco, and it's the same issue there. But you have to wonder, if not for a different film, again, maybe if they target with a film that was, hey, you know, more of a, like, what if Disney basically knew they had a Pocahontas on their hands and they had like a Frozen short in front of, like, that sort of thing, where they know, like, okay, we're looking.
I could see that. I could see that.
Honestly,
if they did that, it would basically be the equivalent of what they were doing back in the day with the Winnie the Pooh stuff.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, maybe that's when that's the
like,
time.
I'm trying to think, like, what's Disney put out? Like, I'm trying to think if Disney's put out like a low key movie this year.
Well, what do you mean? Not animated. I know that much.
No, I'm thinking like live action. Like,
didn't they have one of the Pirates movies come out?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think Frozen would work in front of a Pirates movie. And I'm just saying, like, maybe, like, obviously this wouldn't fit with the production timeline or anything, but, you know, like, let's say they slap this in front of Pete's Dragon and release Pete's Dragon in November, you know, like, hypothetically, something like that, you know what I mean? I feel like that would get a little bit more hype for a movie that people were kind of questioning going to see in theaters. And folks, I gotta say, I still really like Pete's Dragon, man. I really like that movie. It's not, you know, it's not a masterpiece by any means, but it holds up.
Well, what about Beauty and the Beast? We think it would be a fit there?
I do not think it would fit there, because I think there it would be the same situation as this, where people, in fact, I think it'd be even worse, because Beauty and the Beast, of course, when it released to theaters, it had a lot of, rabid fans going out to the theater, you know, and I think it would have been even more like, oh God, you know, like, we want our Beauty and the Beast, you know, screw this Frozen crap.
Well, you know, it's funny. Funny thing is, of course, Cinderella, the live action, had the Frozen, the other Frozen short, so it would be kind of a pattern. And honestly, I got to tell you, if the Frozen short were attached to Beauty and the Beast, I would have been compelled to see it in theaters.
Right.
Of course, it wouldn't fit the Christmas theme, so that's probably another reason they probably want to, again, aim as close to Christmas as they could.
Of course. So, right. Anyway, so we should probably loop back around to Frozen itself. So you want to talk about the distribution, Dragon?
Yes. So here are my theories on the distribution. Here, I have this might have broken down. So, again, it's kind of it's unclear. You know, we're kind of guesstimating what goes on behind closed doors here. But again, here's my theories. Here's what we know. We know that Disney, essentially from Wreck-It Ralph onward, has been trying to kind of replicate what Pixar has been doing with basically having a short per film. They've been trying to kind of replicate the Pixar tradition since that film onward. Now, of course, they broke that trend with Zootopia, and that because they had 2 films a year. And I can't quite remember when was the year of Zootopia 2016. Was there a time before that with Disney when they had 2 films a year within the new Renaissance? Or
I don't think so.
Okay, that's probably why
we had 2015 with the 2 Pixar films.
Yes, but
Disney films.
Okay, so based on that logic, I would extrapolate that. Okay, so because they had 2, you know, they came up short, so they didn't have anything for Zootopia, and they put it into the the short that accompanied Moana.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably that's probably how that broke down. So the point is, Disney are trying to replicate Pixar, and again, the 2 films a year thing, which both Disney and Pixar on the opposite years they both had to contend with. Now, again, that's why everyone was thinking about Pixar's shorts. I kept thinking what Disney did that year in that case. So kept thinking it was like they had the Biden suspicion, like, oh man, did Pixar miss a film because of the 2-year thing? Nope, they didn't. They had the Sanjay Super team. Yep. And they had,
technically, Planes and Wreck-It Ralph came out the same year.
Well, let's not. Yeah,
and Frankenweenie, but that's
Planes wasn't in theaters, so that was direct to video, right?
No, Planes was in theaters.
Oh, that hurts.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway,
Oh wait, no, I'm sorry, Dragon. Oh wait, no, I'm. God damn it.
are you?
Sorry,
Give me
sorry.
something here, man.
No, no, I thought that Frozen and Big Hero 6 came out and say no, Big Hero 6 came out 2014, Frozen 2013.
All right.
Planes, Fire, and Rescue came out the same year as Big Hero 6, for whatever that's worth.
In theaters?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
All right. Anyway. Yeah, the point. Well, again, it's not. I'm talking about like just the official Disney. I'm not talking about.
No, I know what you're saying. Like Planes, Fire, and Rescue and Planes are both Disney tunes, so neither here nor there. Anyways,
Mr. Semantics knocking me off.
Yeah, I'm just being like Mr. Annoying, like, Dan Merle on the couch fact check guy.
Anyway, so the point is, Zootopia kind of broke the trend with the whole 2 movies a year. Frozen. Now again, something else we know now. Well, again, I don't know if Frozen 2 was pushed because again, Frozen 2 didn't have a date attached to it. We all assumed dates, so I don't know if this was ever nailed down. But the assumption I was working with is that it was going to come out in 2018, and now officially slated for 2019. That's the last I looked at it. So I don't know if that was a change, but let's just assume there was change. Even if there wasn't, from what I'm about to make with Pixar here, the same still applies. Let's just say Frozen 2 may or may not have been moved, coming out in 2019. And I imagine just the crux of this short, like, hey, let's do a Frozen short, is a way to hold people over until 2019. And you can imagine, kind of releasing it now. It's like, oh yeah, like if they were going to release 2018, okay, only got like a year, kind of a countdown a month till it comes out. And then of course, oh wait, no, we got to wait a year, so we're going to need to make this last. So what we know, Pixar does have a short in development. They have a short in development. I'm not sure if that was slated originally to be with Coco, and they couldn't meet the deadline on that. I'm not sure. It's just it's unknown. But what we do know about Pixar is that, again, with the 2 films a year thing, and especially with the production stuff with Inside Out and The Good Dinosaur, production schedules had definitely changed. And of course, add on, Toy Story 4 Incredibles, kind of switching dates, all that stuff. Again, Pixar faced a lot of production changes and switcheroos. So it's quite possible, and this is what I'm kind of building to here, folks. I think it's quite possible that both studios, one, they're getting back to what seems to be going a film a year, because initially I thought Disney was going to be doing Wreck-It Ralph and Frozen 2 within the same year, but no, they're both going back to film a year, and of course next year we're going to have Disney as a film, Pixar as a film. Getting back to that, because before they had an arrangement that was kind of being talked about that, hey, they do 2 films a year and they'd switch off now and again.
Which I think is kind of ridiculous.
It is. I think that
you know what the problem with that format was, is it would always lead to one mediocre film in that lineup.
Exactly. I think that's a smart call of them, just kind of going back to 1 film a year. It was cool. It was a cool dream, but it's just impractical.
Yeah.
So what I figure here, and Dave, my big theory is, I think the studios, it could quite possibly be that the studios are doing a solid for each other with this. I think that's why we have Frozen in front of a Pixar film. I think it's just them doing a solid for each other. Because again, Pixar, they're still compensating for like kind of maybe some, like, we're kind of spreading our guys a little thin on all the movies, and of course. And again, Disney, they're trying to kind of catch up to Pixar with the shorts, and again, kind of hold people over Frozen 2. That's where I kind of think that's coming from. I think they're both doing each other solid, and that's what kind of brings forth kind of this break in tradition.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that.
And they have technically pulled something, not to a 20-minute extent, but they have pulled something like this before. There was a Pixar short in front of a Disney film.
Well, yeah, but I did. To be fair, though, Dragon, I don't necessarily think that that's as much of a break in tradition as the other way around would.
You're right about that. I'm just saying they've kind of pulled like an intercompany pull like that before. We had
there's been several Pixar shorts in front of Disney films, right? There was Small Fry, there was
Party Central and Party Source Rex. Those are the 3 that come to mind. Actually, wait, Hawaiian Vacation might have I can't quite. That's probably in front of a Disney film, but I can't remember which one right now. Anyway, so yeah, the point is, Pixar is going to help that. So anyways, it's like the first time they're kind of trying it the other way, and again, the fact is 20 minutes is basically what's kind of making it more infamous than it probably should.
Like, honestly, I think it'd be a lot more palatable, the break in tradition, if it wasn't 20 minutes, because 20 minutes isn't just a break in the Pixar tradition. It's a break in what we as modern film goers are used to. Like I said, Dragon, the whole reason we kind of did that whole history lesson is, we haven't seen a structure like this in theaters since 1990, and the movie that it was attached to in 1990 basically tanked, so not a lot of people even saw that movie in theaters. So,
Yeah, like, yeah,
this hasn't been a popular thing since Winnie the Pooh's run.
like I know what I would just kind of love to see kind of the Pixar talent that's going over to Disney, do shorts, and that's the thing I'd like to see kind of if you're gonna have a Disney short in front of Pixar short, kind of them do that. Like John Cars, who did Paperman. Of course, he worked with Pixar before, and that'd be kind of a fun kind of like coming back to the company fray in a way. That's kind of thing I'd like to see if they were to pull this again, but with the shorts, that 20-minute thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of yeah.
All right, so should we get into pros and cons then?
Sure.
Okay, well, Dragon, I'll start things off right now with a negative in that I really didn't like the opening.
It might be like a smidge more specific, Tiki. What about
the whole surprise? Not yet, Olaf.
Oh, you didn't like the little not yet runner?
I did not like that at all. I thought it was obnoxious. I was like, oh boy, this is not a good way to start. This is just basically like...
I don't know it.
Basically, Dragon, what I thought was they were kind of getting all the annoying Olaf stuff out of the way in the first few moments of the film.
Yeah, we know Olaf loves surprises from the other Frozen shorts, so it kind of seemed like kind of a vague character thing there. And it's not like the fact everyone knows Olaf's name and everything. It's like, oh, not yet, Olaf.
To me, it was kind of like, it just was kind of grating on me because it's like, like I would be really annoyed if I was in that situation.
Look at it from this kind of meta context. It's basically, again, if this film was kind of a holdover till Frozen 2, basically everyone asking about where's Frozen 2. You have like, not yet, Olaf, not yet, Olaf.
Right.
Look at it from that context. I don't know. I wonder if there's like a meta gag there of like, yeah, a lot of waiting on Frozen. A lot of waiting. A lot of waiting. It came out 2013. You won't see it till 2019.
But Dragon, I think a general pro is I did think the music was in good form.
Yes, I think the two songs for me that really did it. I love When We're Together. I loved it from the trailer, and I love seeing it kind of play in full here. When We're Together. That was probably my favorite, and also Olaf had a really good song too. He had That Time of the Year, which was a catchy, nice holiday song.
I thought the lyrics kind of felt like a little bit of a first draft, but I really like how they incorporated so much humor into that song. I like how we saw a lot of culture.
Of course, I think it's the most spectacular sequence we got in there.
Yeah, definitely.
The reasons we'll get in a little more later on, but let's see. I guess do we just want to just kind of pull from both pros and cons, or?
Yeah, just jump back and forth.
Just the bridge off the song. So I will say this though, it doesn't necessarily bother me, but it is noticeable. And again, here's the thing: it's just because it's in theaters, it's kind of an issue like that. I think there's song overload, but I do get a sense that if it were on TV with commercial breaks, it would play better.
Well, Dragon, I mean, that's the thing. It's like I can literally spot where there should have been commercial breaks in this.
Yeah, and again, it's a problem, but at the same time, it's like I'm not saying there are too many songs, but there are too many songs just consecutively.
Where it gets to the point where it's like I feel like that was definitely a thing with the kids in the audience as well. Is like, okay, like they like Olaf, they like Frozen, but it's like it's just song after song after song,
What they did, I want to say if you include the reprises, there's at least I think it might be 6 in total with reprises. Could be more with reprises. Quite honestly, I'm saying it's like basically it feels like.
And then even stuff that doesn't, like we have like a musical reprise of an instrumental reprise of "Do You Want to Build a Snowman?" Like even stuff without lyrics is still very musical.
Yeah, sure, it's not bad though. Again, it's just like it's a callback. It's like
yeah.
All right, let's see. Okay, I hated the towel joke. I really hated the towel joke.
Okay, you know what I like though? I really did like the joke that preceded it though, with Olaf as like a basically the science of like we finally get to find out what happens when Olaf fully melts.
That was fun. To kind of have Frosty the Snowman logic. It was cute.
You want to explain it, Dragon?
Basically, if Olaf melts, because at the end of Frozen, what we saw is Olaf has like a little cloud above his head. Now, I can't remember in Frozen Fever if he still has the cloud or not. It's escaping me at the moment. But the point is,
I kind of feel like that cloud got retconned, honestly.
Well, regardless, I mean, they're probably going to take it because if they animate clouds consistently,
yeah.
Regardless, what I would assume is that the cloud just kind of got absorbed into Olaf or something. And the point is, Olaf, he'll melt, but he can reconstruct himself easily. Basically, if he's it's frosted snowman logic. If he goes out into the cold, then he'll be back. He'll be fine. Ah, he's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. But I will agree the towel joke was not great. Not great.
Yes, that for me, that's my. If I had to pick like one thing, period, just to hate, I would hate that gag most.
Uh-huh.
I really hate
Um,
it. It's a cheap joke.
I honestly thought that both Anna and Elsa were not the best in terms of characterization.
I will say this: I would have liked, I always I love those characters, and I want to see more done with them. That's kind of thing. We have like a little bit of that with Frozen Fears. Okay, we're getting a little bit more. I'm seeing them after the movie. What's going on with these two? And my fear, my fear is that this is kind of bridging a little bit in the Frozen 2. My fear that the thing is kind of perpetuating is we might. I fear we might be just not regressing, but we might just be retreading Elsa as a character. Basically, there's trauma, there's the aftermath of trauma, and then we're running out of ideas. It's where we have okay, so Elsa after. Let me say this: I like the plot of this. I really like the plot. The plot is it's a nice simple story of Olaf finding traditions for the sisters who just realized, oh crap, we have no traditions. We're at a loss here. We're trying to help everyone find traditions, but no, they already have their stuff. We got nothing, and we have no it's Olaf fixing the problem. I love that plot, but again, Elsa just has that moment. And again, I kind of dread this in the theater. Again, it didn't bother me. Like I know my friends are kind of the big Frozen skeptics. They're going to point this out. It's like, oh god. Basically, Elsa has that moment of like, we don't have any traditions, Anna. It's all my fault. It's like, oh, back to square one. Darn it.
Yeah, and Elsa, I just feel like in general, Anna, I feel like they just kind of play Anna's quirkiness up a little too much in this, and that's kind of my problem with her characterization.
But you see what I'm saying with Elsa here is that, again, that's the problem we're kind of skirting here. Is that, again, I get it. Just because she had the arc at the end of the first one, she's not going to be all fixed. There's still going to be some lingering aftermath there. And again, she started to kind of get out of her shell a little bit in Frozen Fear, which is the direction I really want to see with Elsa. I want to get to know that character.
Right.
But again, I just think that's a line she's walking. It didn't really kill it for me here. It's like we didn't do a lot with her, but didn't really say that we're
honestly one of my things is that we really haven't seen Elsa use her ice powers in any sort of significant way beyond just like home decorating,
which is cool though.
It's very good home decorating, but it's still kind of like sort of like a reversal of the message of Let It Be in a way.
Right, but again, I'm sorry, were you making a joke with Let It Be, or you?
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, like with Elsa, like maybe, I've heard some people say, like, why couldn't Elsa, like, use her snow powers to look for Olaf faster in this, when Olaf goes missing,
And, yeah, I guess
I feel like there could have been more practical uses to her snow powers, whereas literally the only time we see her ice powers in this is just for literally just decorations.
Right, and of course the simple practical answer is
I'm not making a joke with Let It Go, because Let It Go was all about using the ice powers to to express yourself.
Right, and of course just the simple answer to why we don't have more kind of showy ice powers. Of course we gotta save it for the second movie. We can't give away in the shorts.
We can't do like the Elsa Iceman thing.
That's the thing. We can't do that.
I guess that's true. Yeah, that would be a fun reveal in the second movie.
Yeah. That's good.
It's like, just with Frozen 2, I feel like one of the things we hit on with our speculation for Frozen 2 is that I feel like adding new characters, like new and interesting characters to bounce off of the established characters would be a good way to go.
And I'm totally down for that. Again, I'd love to see. Again, I doubt it's ever going to be in the movie. But again, I'd love the whole Elsa speed dating thing. I think that'd be funny. But no, I'm still proud. Like my two favorite elements from that pitch. I love the Elsa speed dating opening with her again, because you get to know her a little bit there, and the whole Olaf with the snowman bar. But
and I'm still rather proud of my villain, who's kind of like the the Phoenix Fire Princess type character.
Yeah, and I had again, we both had fire as our theme, as you can imagine.
Yeah. Of
course, mine had the complex villain. I have he's not a bad guy, but he's just kind of.
Well, I thought my villain was complex too.
I'm just saying you had a princess. I don't know. I don't know if I forget if my guy was a prince or not. But I think he was royal. It doesn't matter. Points. Anyway, so where were you going?
Maybe I'll link that podcast. I think I will.
Sure. Again, I'm still proud of that pitch. It was good.
No, I think that was one of the most well-received directors we've ever done, Dragon. I think we should both be proud of that one still. Anyways,
So
folks.
again, just my point. I think the both point we're hitting on is that the sisters kind of take a back seat in the special. Again, we like the sisters, we like to see them develop, and it's not really, we didn't really have time for that. But then you got Olaf shorts, Olaf's Frozen Adventures.
So speaking of that, though, I think Olaf is basically like he works a lot better than, let's say, a character like Mater, where even in a short film context, I don't even really care for Mater's tall tales all that much.
I like Mater's tall tales. That's just me going.
I mean, I like them, but it's not something I'm going to like actively seek out. Whereas Olaf in this has some really, really, really funny moments. I just think as a comic relief character, Olaf, he really does work.
So speaking of that, I mean, I love the things I think that this does well. I think it's very well animated. I think we get some good timing with the humor, with Olaf's timing, I think. And of course, the humor, I think, is that with Olaf specifically, I think is really good.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the animation too, because this looks just as good, if not better, than the first movie.
Yeah, man, it's
really on point.
Of course, we had cool ice effects and powers, even though they're not as kind of grand sweeping as we would like. But I think again with the little, the little kind of home touches. Again, she makes like a little ice guardrail, which is really cool looking.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, again, the big spectacle at the very end. Anyway. Of course, we have good montage in this with Olaf's, that time of the year sequence.
Yeah, and one of the things I really like about this short, Dragon, one of the things that, like, even the most, the most hardened critics against this thing are saying is that they really like how we get to see more of Arendelle in this short.
Yeah, we get to see Arendelle's a very diverse place. We have, we have Hanukkah in there. We had all sorts of different holidays and traditions. It was cool looking.
Yeah, I really like that element of it.
Yeah, no,
of course, I love the people on the boat who are like, like stomping and making the boat sway back and forth.
Yeah, I have one con left. I think one con is that I think this is a problem. I really hope they don't fall into, because again we haven't done much of this character. Again, the most we've seen of this character honestly has been on Once Upon a Time. So again, it's not Kristoff with But I'm saying again, I still take it. I know. I still really love that. That
yeah, he was really good in Once Upon a Time.
I was saying on the whole, I just love all that first half of season 4 of Once Upon a Time. All that frozen over thing.
It was really good. It was really good.
A lot of fun. I watched it on Netflix, but one of these days we have to buy that season. Just that season. I watched all the. I don't know. I'm drifting off. Anyway, geeking out over Once Upon a Time Frozen stuff. Anyway. So my problem with Kristoff, at least my potential, the thing I didn't like here, I really don't want them to keep perpetuating, is I don't like relegating Kristoff to the gross out mountain man gag.
Yeah.
It really bothered me, because again, the mountain stuff of Kristoff's usually been cool. We don't really go like uber gross with it. It's like, okay, he doesn't bathe. That's usually been the extent of the gag, which that's a classy way of doing it. In this case, you have like he's the gross, basically celebrating like the grossest troll, and you gotta lick the moss from the head.
I really thought that gag fell flat, and that's what I'm talking about when it comes to the pacing. You know what I mean?
I did like, and again, I like one part of this purely for the fact, again, it's doing something with Elsa. It's like Elsa had a reaction to it. It was like, oh, I already ate. She's trying to be polite. That sort of.
Yeah, but I don't think that Elsa stuff saves it by any stretch.
You're right. Again, it doesn't say it. I'm just gleaming what I can from that gross out gag. Yeah. The fact that we keep going to it, like later on with Sven, like he's offering you some of the icky gook in that.
Okay, I thought that worked a lot better just because I always like Kristoff's reindeer voice. I'll never get tired of that.
That is fun.
Oh, gee, Kristoff, you're so thoughtful. Where's Michael?
God. Anyway, this is just the minor thing. I gotta see it again to really fairly judge it. But you'll probably get into a little more deals. Just say Sven when he morphs, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I like it just because it's just very, very fun, vivid character animation. But yeah, I'll talk about it.
I'm sure if someone could freeze frame it, it'd look a little disturbing. I gotta wonder how the heck does he do that?
Right.
Anyway, so those are all my cons. Yeah, in the grand scheme, kind of minimal, but I don't know. I mean, some of them are like more.
Okay.
Okay, so what's some of our favorite standout moments?
Sure. So, as we mentioned, like I think as a whole, the Olaf song is definitely a good moment, filled with a lot of gags, and specifically, Dragon. I love the beat, and this is one of like even the people in the theaters who were really sick of this short, laughed heartily at was basically Olaf's making the rounds, like on everyone's traditions. And so it comes to this one line and things get really serious, really quiet. And Olaf's like very, very suspicious. He's like, so you chop down trees and then you dress their corpse with candles. And I love the timing on this, Drake. I love the timing on this. Like the wife is just
the kids
like
are horrified.
Yeah, the kids are horrified. The wife is like so ticked off at the husband. She's like balking him over the head, and then of course Olaf's just like, "I love it." that I think that's the best gag in the special by a pretty wide margin for me.
Yep.
Okay, and then anyways, let's see. So yeah, Dragon, I gotta say one of my favorite moments is the whole Sven and Kristoff thing. I love the like, oh gee, Kristoff, you're so thoughtful. Just the delivery on that, it's really funny. But then of course the whole Lassie bit, the charades with Sven, like, yeah, Dragon, it's a little over the top, but I just thought it was really creative. It was honestly, I thought it was impressive from a certain point of view, the fact that the animators could get it to look even remotely believable that Sven would be able to pull some of these charades off. You know what I mean? And then, of course, I think the topper of that gag with probably the best Anna and Elsa moment is Anna and Elsa kind of having the Lassie style, like, what's that, Sven? Olaf's lost in the woods and he's being chased by wolves. Like, Dragon, I cracked up at that as well. I thought that was a great use of the characters.
Yeah.
All right. And then my third and final favorite moment comes at the very end. It's a simple moment. I just really like it. It's where, Olaf, Elsa makes the giant ice tree, and then Olaf gets hoisted up by Elsa's magic powers to put the star at the top of the tree. And god damn it, Dragon, I'm just a sucker for sentimental stuff like that. My favorite part of that moment, though, is Olaf's reaction, like when he realizes what's happening. He's like, oh, I've got, he doesn't vocalize it, but you can see it in his eyes and in his facial reactions and stuff. He's like, I've got the star and I get to put it at the top of the tree. It's just, he's so excited, and it's adorable, Dragon. And I honestly thought it was like the perfect way to end it. And it was just, it kind of got me in the Christmas spirit a little bit. So yeah, I really did think that ending note was a very good note to hit out on. I thought it was very sweet. All right. Go ahead.
All right. Okay, for me, let's see. One of my favorite visual in the short, one of my favorite elements of the Olaf song is I love the. It's hard to describe because I know it has an actual name. I'm just gonna have to guesstimate what this thing is because again, I wish I had like a freeze frame I could just kind of look up or something. But basically, it's kind of the knitwear look. Basically, in the middle of Olaf's song, you just have this great. It's animated so wonderfully, and it's just again. I love when we kind of push the animation, get really creative with it. Basically, we can kind of get a peek inside Olaf's seasonal snow brain, if you will, and you get to see how he kind of sees his little mission going. It's all pushed and it's all it's all knitted and holiday.
It basically looks like like the ugly Christmas sweater look.
Yeah, it's kind of like knitwear. It's almost like a beaded look. It's like kind of like I know it might be like a crochet. I don't know if that's I don't think that's the right term, but you know what I mean. It's like kind of like it's like a knitted, like arranged beaded looking look for it. And I love that we see like Anna and Elsa like all crying and sad, and basically like them worshiping Olaf once he helps him out and saves the day. It's like again, it's a cute little peek inside Olaf's brain. It's like all nice and friendly. It looks really. It's really pleasant. It looks really stunning. It's like, oh man, that was amazing how they did that.
What's interesting, Dragon, is I feel like they did a similar trick with Coco at the very beginning with the napkins.
Were those napkins?
I don't know what to call them.
Wait, I mean, like the paper cutouts. So the
the paper cutouts.
I didn't know. I didn't think those were napkins.
No, I'm sorry. They're probably not napkins. I don't know. I just don't know what else to call them. But you know
Yeah,
what
I
I'm talking
understand, like
about, though.
the paper cutout thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. I'm with you. They remind me of that too, and kind of do the animation in a
Like
different way. Animate,
stylistically.
yeah, animate on a texture, and also speaking of
Right,
that, it
right.
kind of like these are the kind of moves Tiki in animation that remind me of like what we did in Moana in one of my favorite catches on Moana, where you see the "You're Welcome" scene. Basically, we emulate kind of the old days of Mary Poppins, where you would have live action intersecting with 2D. In the case of Moana, you had 3D looking so realistic with very phony looking 2D
Mhm.
interacting. It was an amazing. I love when we can do that sort of stuff in animation. We kind of did it here, and it was great.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Of course, I really enjoyed the Olaf reveal. The reveal that this really hit me here because I love the. I mean, you could really analyze this in a few different ways. The fact that Olaf, of course, was created in the beginning of Frozen, where we saw the sisters bonded over Olaf before he was sentient. That was the thing that bonded them together, and again, you can look at it as okay. That's why Olaf kind of somewhat embodies both aspects of the sister. So he's kind of like he's just a representation of their bond, but he's also kind of like kind of a. Some people have read too much into it. Again, I'm not saying I'm not going to shoot him down. And some people say he's kind of the child of Anna and Elsa in a way. It's a way. That's a way of looking at it. Regardless, what I love here is just looking at just kind of that while the sisters had the famous door image, we had the famous door image of Anna on one side and Elsa on the other side, and the idea that every Christmas, every Christmas, Anna would go up to the door and she'd leave her sister a Christmas card featuring Olaf from from those happy times, from that little happy moment they had right before her powers kind of caused the great divide between them. I love they're still lingering on that one great happy moment. That's kind of been the symbol of Christmas for them. That's been their tradition. Is Olaf realizing, like, oh man, I've failed so much. I've looked at all these traditions. Oh, now they're all gone. I've wrecked Christmas. Oh, woe is me. Oh no, I got imaginary snow bruises for naught. But man, it's such a sweet moment. The sisters, come to Olaf and they tell me, oh, Olaf, you were our tradition. Of course, we see the flashback of how that all came together. It's really nice. I thought it was really heartfelt. I really enjoyed that very much so. I can't wait to see that on a rewatch. I guess briefly, also just because it was a cute. I'm clean on anything we get with Elsa here. Again, it's the personality wise there. I like that. It's so fun. Usually, Anna's my go-to, by the way. So Anna is my favorite out of the two sisters, but I'm eager to see more development on Elsa though, because again, we had all the first movies with Anna. But gag I really liked. There's this little quick gag where basically they're looking through like their stuff from when they were kids and like all the stuff they had in the attic, which apparently Arendelle they had an attic. It's a big house, of course they had. Of course they had an attic. Elsa says, I wonder what's in there. What kind of stuff did you have? Oh, nothing, just probably assortment of gloves. It's just, oh, I'm sure. So then it looks at, oh my God, it's like an assortment of gloves. So like a whole string of like endless gloves. I mean, it's like kind of like it's sad but humorous. It's like, oh man, that's all she had. She was just like so beating herself up over them to wear gloves and gloves. It's like, oh, that poor Elsa. Again, it's a little humor at Elsa's tragic circumstances. So I can appreciate that. It's kind of, all right.
Right, so just jumping right into final thoughts, folks. I am definitely like, I'm right there with everyone else when it comes to this. Very much, it's an unfortunate situation. I feel like it's unfortunate to both Coco and to Frozen as a brand because I feel like this almost kind of like dilutes the Frozen brand. Like I feel like this almost kind of like there's a little less goodwill for a Frozen 2 after this dragon. And so, but having said that, I really don't think it's a bad special at all. I don't think it's I don't think it's like a masterpiece, like a 10 out of 10. I don't think it's Mickey's Christmas Carol by any stretch. But I think there's a lot of charm to it. I very much think the animation is on point. It's, it's a nice look into the Aradelian culture. It's a nice kind of expanse on the Frozen universe. And Olaf's really on point with his humor, and I think it does have a lot of good Christmassy stuff in it that I am excited to break down once we do get to it on Seasonal Shenanigans sometime. So,
If I may, you could say the quote, Charlie Brown Christmas. It's not a bad little tree at all.
yeah, exactly.
You know what?
Right.
What's funny, Tiki, is kind of bridge into my final thoughts here.
Sure.
Yeah, I tell you, Tiki, I don't. looking at this, I feel we're in the moment right now when this just kind of freshly came out, when the controversy, like, you can see like articles pull up like Olaf's Frozen Adventure gets a lot of backlash. It's been pulled from this and that. People like audiences, this police, all that right now. It's just kind of because it's just fresh and it's just come out. I get a sense that like when Frozen's coming out in 2019, when this thing's airing, just around the holidays, like next year in 2018, I think people are just going to completely forget about all this and just be, oh yeah, hey, look, there's a little Frozen Christmas special. I'm like, oh boy, look forward to
I
Frozen
agree
next
too.
year.
Yeah, I think when this does air on American TV, especially if they wait a year to air it on American TV, then
Yeah.
be like, oh yeah, I remember seeing that in front of Coco. All right, let's watch it.
So I guess I just made this entire conversation moot in the grand scheme, but no. Again, folks, it's a thing to keep an eye on in the future. But yeah, I think just grand scheme, it's going to go by the wayside because we're always going to be swept up in it again. That's kind of part of the course. But on this as a whole here right now, I think it's a solid special. At the end of the day, I'm pretty similar on that. I think it's a solid special, but it's still probably be best served on the small screen. I think eventually it will be best served on the small screen, as it will eventually come. And of course, it fills you with holiday spirit. Does what you want it to do. And again, it lived up to my expectations. It's fun. I wanted more analysis. I mean, yeah, that's the only thing I guess I'm a little more reserved on. But I would have liked to see more of that. But again, on the whole, it was an Olaf Christmas special, delivered being an Olaf Christmas special, had some good heart, had some great animation. It was a blast. Just ill-timed. It was a blast.
Very ill-timed. Very ill-timed.
Yes. All right.
I love it!